This is Dave. Dave is your typical teenager. He loves hanging out with friends and playing all types of sports during the week. I'm going to use Dave as an example to explain one of the most important mechanisms of the human body, the spinal cord. The spinal cord is housed within the spinal column, which is made up of 33 individual bones that interlock with one another. It is important to understand the functions and features of the nervous system in order to recognize the importance of the spinal cord in the daily function and survival of the vertebrate species. The nervous system is made up of two main divisions: the central nervous system, which constitutes of the brain and the spinal cord, and the peripheral nervous system, made up by the nerves of the body. Most of the nerve connections of the peripheral nervous system pass through the spinal cord, serving to communicate information to and from the central nervous system via sensory input. Essentially, the spinal cord acts as a conduit between the brain and the rest of the body, through which motor and sensory information is relayed between the two. But while we acknowledge and understand the amazing things the spinal cord does for our body, what happens if it gets damaged? In a short moment, Dave's life was changed dramatically. While out with friends, Dave was involved in a motor vehicle accident. Dave has discussed the severity of his injuries with his doctor and now lives as a spinal cord injury survivor. Letters and numbers are used to identify where along the spinal cord the injury has occurred. Dave has suffered spinal cord damage to his C6 vertebrae, where the spinal cord has been bruised, crushed, or torn. The conduction of sensory and motor signals across the sites of the lesions is affected. Due to Dave's injuries, he is clinically classified as a quadriplegic. Hereby, Dave suffers impairment and loss of motor and sensory function in the cervical segments of his spinal cord. This means that compared to what Dave was previously capable of, without a spinal cord injury such as walking, will be affected. Ultimately, the functions of Dave's arms, trunk, legs, and pelvic organs will be impaired. Ultimately, the role of Dave's nervous system is impaired. An unaffected nervous system functions to receive information regarding the state of the body and the surrounding environment, in order to process this information in a way that permits Dave to respond proficiently. However, Dave's body will be unable to generate command signals that would otherwise previously cause the muscles, glands, and other organs to carry out desired actions. So what are the consequences for Dave? It is important to understand the meaning of health. The World Health Organization defines health as a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. Dave will work alongside an allied healthcare professional team and will undergo extensive rehabilitation that is designed to help him adapt physically and mentally. Those in the allied healthcare team that work alongside Dave may include psychologists, social workers, physiotherapists, occupational therapists, rehabilitation facilitators, a medical team, a nursing team, dietitians, and visiting specialists. Prior to Dave's injuries, he was very active and enjoyed being around friends. As a C6 spinal cord injury survivor, Dave's breathing is weak due to the paralysis of his chest muscles. Dave can move his shoulders and flex his elbows, but will be unable to extend his arms and will experience paralysis of his hands, trunk, and legs. Due to these impairments and loss of mobility to most parts of his body, as well as the sudden onset of his spinal cord injury, Dave may develop severe negative emotions, threatening his health in ways that move beyond physical impairment, but considers a threat to both his psychological and social integration. Dave will need assistance each day for personal care, such as washing. He will have the ability to partially dress his upper body, however, will require assistance to dress his lower body. He will have little or no voluntary control of his bowel and bladder, but may be able to manage on his own with special equipment, such as waste collection bags and other adapted devices. Palm straps will enable Dave to exert the ability to shave, brush his hair, and brush his teeth. In regards to Dave's respiratory system, he is able to breathe without a ventilator, but assistance is required to clear secretions and help coughing may be needed. Dave will need help to complete domestic care activities such as household cleaning, the washing of clothes, and kitchen duties. Additionally, assistance is required when Dave is transferring between the bed, wheelchair, and car, perhaps using a sliding board. He will be able to use a power assistance wheelchair for uneven surfaces that is controlled with a joystick. Dave may also use a manual wheelchair for short distances on flat surfaces. Ultimately, with the correct intervention and support, Dave can go on to lead a very fulfilling life, despite the physical restrictions that he experiences. By working alongside an allied health professional team, Dave will be able to establish realistic goals to maximise